For this district attorney to not wait for the Georgia Bureau of Investigation to finish their investigation and then for them to submit their files, to submit their findings, review those findings, and then come to a decision, for this district attorney to not follow that process is a complete disgrace. It's a disgrace.
You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We will preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we will sentence them to take the first step into 1,000 years of darkness. If we fail, at least let our children and our children's children say of us, we justified our brief moment here. We did all that could be done.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to Veely TV. Well, the former Atlanta police officer Garrett Rolfe is now facing 11 charges, including felony murder. And according to Fox News, he may also face the death penalty. Now, I spent a good amount of time going over this case in episode 4 on Tuesday, and I gave you the facts, I laid the foundation out, I said what I said, and I stand by everything I said in that episode. That being said, I think that these charges, the fact that he's charged with felony murder and may, in fact, face the death penalty, is very extreme. Very, very extreme, given the circumstances. It's important that we don't pretend, as many people seem to be doing, that Garrett Rolfe just, walked up to this guy for no apparent reason whatsoever, aimed his gun at him, and pulled the trigger. That's not at all what happened. There was a scuffle. There was a fight. Rayshard Brooks stole the taser, started to run, aimed the taser at the officers, and what happened happened. Those are the facts. So, these charges, I think, are over the top. I think they're extreme. I think they're unnecessary. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be no consequences whatsoever. I'm not saying that the justice system shouldn't play an active role in this case. It absolutely should. But what I'm saying is that I think these charges that the Fulton County District Attorney has come out with, yes, are very, very extreme, given the circumstances. Given the circumstances. Now, speaking of this Fulton County District Attorney, Paul Howard Jr., this guy, from what I understand and from what I've read online, different news sources and so forth, this guy seems incredibly rogue and incredibly corrupt and incompetent, I'll say, at carrying out justice in a fair and equal fashion. And I want to get into that a little bit, but let me start by saying that there was a press conference held, I believe it was yesterday, on Wednesday. And there were many things, conveniently, that this district attorney did not say about what transpired between Garrett Rolfe and Rayshard Brooks. Some very, very important information was left out of this press conference that may have influenced the case. That probably should have influenced the case and the outcome. And I'll get into that. There was a report on Breitbart.com. Let me start with this one. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation was apparently not consulted on charges filed against former cop, that is Garrett Rolfe, in the killing of Rayshard Brooks. So this district attorney did not inform the Georgia Bureau of Investigation that he would be charging him with felony murder and 11 other charges, or 10 other charges. They were kind of kept out of the loop. Let me read a little bit. Again, this is Breitbart.com reporting on this. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation on Wednesday stated that it was not consulted on the charges filed by the district attorney regarding former Atlanta police officer Garrett Rolfe, who now faces felony charges in the fatal shooting of Rayshard Brooks. Let's see. Howard stated that Brooks, who attempted to flee, this is, by the way, in the press conference on Wednesday, Howard stated that Brooks, who attempted to flee the scene while wielding an officer's taser, was, quote, running away at the time the shot was fired, and added that he, quote, did not pose an immediate threat of death or serious physical injury. Well, there's some debate about that, and we'll get into that shortly. However, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, which, by the way, for those of you who don't know, is basically like the FBI, but at the state level. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation, which is looking into the incident, said in a statement on Wednesday that it was not aware of the prior press conference. They weren't made aware that there were, that this district attorney general, or this district attorney, Paul Howard Jr., would be making statements and filing charges and so forth. They were completely kept in the dark. Nor was it consulted on the charges filed by the district attorney. They were kept out of the loop. In a statement, they said, quote, this is the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Despite today's occurrence, the GBI will complete its mission of completing an impartial and thorough investigation of this incident, and we will submit the file, once completed, to the Fulton County District Attorney's Office. Now let me read the full statement, because this is important, folks. This is putting everything into context. We want to get all the facts out there on the table. This is important stuff. Important information that, quite frankly, this, again, I'll say it, corrupt and rogue district attorney did not consider. Here's their full statement. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation was requested by the Atlanta Police Department on Friday night, June 12th, to investigate an officer involved in a shooting at the Wendy's restaurant on University Avenue. We are in the process of conducting this investigation. In the process of conducting this investigation, meaning it's still going. It's still going. And yet this Paul Howard Jr. comes out and says this Garrett Rolfe is now being charged with felony murder. He may face the death penalty. It seems that they have things backwards a little bit. No? Shouldn't they, finish the investigation first? Wait to hear from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation and then make a decision about what to do with this guy? Let me continue. Although we have made significant progress in the case, we have not completed our work. Our goal in every officer involved shooting case we are requested to review is to complete a thorough, impartial investigation before we submit a file to the respective district attorney's office. This is how the justice system is supposed to work. You're supposed to gather all the facts and then make a decision. The GBI was not aware of today's press conference before it was conducted. We were not consulted on the charges filed by the district attorney. Despite today's occurrence, the GBI will complete its mission of completing an impartial and thorough investigation of this incident, and we will submit the file, once completed, to the Fulton County District Attorney's Office. Well, I tell you what, this Paul Howard Jr. guy, he already looks like an ass, but he's going to look like an even bigger ass if they complete this investigation and it turns out to be that Garrett Rolfe wasn't this big bad murderer who shot some guy in cold blood, like many are trying to make him out to be. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens, folks. But the point I'm trying to make is, for this district attorney to not wait for the Georgia Bureau of Investigation to finish their investigation and then for them to submit their files, to submit their findings, review those findings, and then come to a decision, for this district attorney to not follow that process is a complete disgrace. It's a disgrace. And you know what? All these people out there, these left-wing media types, these left-wing politicians and so forth, who are on and on and on about justice, the American justice system, the American justice system. Do you hear any of them talking about this, by the way? Do you hear any of them talking about how this district attorney in Atlanta is, in Fulton County, is not following the justice system as it's laid out for him? Is not properly going through the process? Are they talking about this at all? They're not. Why would you not be in constant communication with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation? Part of me feels that it's deliberate, folks, to be honest. I mean, I can't think of any other possibility. What, did this guy just forget that the Georgia Bureau of Investigation exists? Oh, well, they're out there conducting the investigation, but that's okay. Let's speed things up here. Let's charge him. 11 charges, felony murder. It's a disgrace, folks. I'm very, very disturbed at how they're handling this. Now, let me go on. There's also information out there, again, as I said in the beginning of the show, that this district attorney withheld information. Withheld information. Not only did he ignore the investigation going on by the GBI, he's withholding important information to the public. From the public. These reports came out in the Daily Mail, and I'm not going to read the entire thing, but again, this is important information for everybody to know. If we're trying to get all the facts out there, if we're trying to, complete a fair and equal justice process, if you will, this is the kind of information that we need to know. This is the kind of information that was specifically withheld in this press conference. DailyMail.com. Listen to this. The charges to which Brooks pleaded guilty and for which he was still on probation dated back to August 2014, when he was convicted on 4 counts, false imprisonment, simple battery simple, and felony cruelty to children. So this guy was charged with cruelty to children, battery, and so on and so forth. Felony cruelty. And he was on probation. He was tried in Clayton County and sentenced to 7 years on the first count, with 1 year in prison and 6 on probation, and 12 months for each of the other 3 counts, sentences to be served concurrently. His sentence was revised, and he was sent back to prison for 12 months in July 2016 when he violated the terms of his probation. Brooks had not been in trouble since that year and until last December, when he went to Ohio without informing his probation officer, and a warrant was issued for his arrest. The warrant was revoked and the case dismissed when he returned to Georgia on January 6th. According to his wife, Brooks was a devoted husband to her and her loving father. Brooks was let me reread that. Brooks was a devoted husband to her and loving father to their 3 daughters and his stepson. Well, apparently not if he was charged with cruelty to children. But that's besides the point. So let me ask you folks, is this important information? Should this information have been released to the public by this district attorney in this press conference yesterday? Absolutely it should have. Is this relevant? Absolutely it is. Why was it withheld? I have my theories. That, mark my words, I'll disclose by the end of the show. Then the Daily Mail reports on this. This is also extremely important. Fired officer, here's the headline. Fired officer who shot Rayshard Brooks, that is Garrett Rolfe, begged him to stay alive. So this goes against the racist narrative that this guy, this police officer was racially motivated, that he shot this black guy because he hated black people, apparently. It's not true at all. This proves it. This absolutely proves it. Daily Mail. Amid angry shouts and accusations from bystanders, Rolfe can be clearly heard pleading. Now, when they say he could be heard, they mean on the body cam footage. He can be heard pleading, quote, "Mr. Brooks, keep breathing. Keep breathing for me." The jerky body cam footage captures him kneeling on the ground and administering CPR to the bleeding man while Brosnan looks on, who, by the way, is his police colleague. Rolfe administered CPR until the ambulance arrived and can be heard repeatedly calling Mr. Brooks' name as he tried to keep him alive. DailyMail.com has also learned that Rolfe has since told friends that he didn't want to pull the trigger, but did so because he feared that if he went down, Brooks might kill him. So, he feared for his life. Speaking exclusively to DailyMail.com, one close friend to Rolfe said, quote, "This is one of his friends. Garrett didn't want to do it. He had been punched and was dazed." And he was punched. You could see that in the footage. Brooks had gone to tase him, and he said that he knew that if he went down, Brooks might kill him. So, again, he was dazed after being punched, and he feared for his life. He was thinking to himself, if I go down here, I might lose my life. And so he made the split decision to fire a few shots, which unfortunately killed him. But even after Brooks went down, this police officer was pleading with them, stay alive, keep breathing. Yeah, this guy's a racist, right? Yeah, this guy's a bigot, right? I don't think so. The source also said, quote, he told me he fired, when I say he, I mean Garrett Rolfe. He told me he fired a shot up above Brooks's head, but he didn't stop, and so he fired twice more. He didn't want to do it. There's no hate in Garrett's body. He doesn't hate black. He doesn't hate white. In that moment, he was in fear for his life. And I believe it. So circling back, folks, again, this man was charged with felony murder and may face the death penalty. This is a young guy, by the way. This guy, Garrett Rolfe, is 27 years old, I believe. Still has his entire life ahead of him, or at least he did. Now it's ruined. Completely ruined. And, I'm not even excusing what happened. What I'm simply saying, folks, is we need, at the very least, we need to wait until we have all the facts. We need to wait until the GBI comes out with its report, until they complete its investigation, which this damn district attorney in Fulton County did not do, had apparently no interest in doing. And not only did he ignore the GBI, he's withholding important information. Information about Brooks's past. Information about how Garrett Rolfe responded when he saw Rayshard Brooks go down. I don't know, folks. This guy, to me, seems corrupt. He seems like he is tampering with the justice system, if I may be so blunt. I don't know. I have more. I'm not done with this, but I'm going to take a break. I'll be right back. Folks, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I'll say it. I really do feel bad for this police officer, Garrett Rolfe. I mean, could you imagine what he's thinking right now, what he's going through? He was caught up in a horrible situation. Horrible situation. He genuinely feared for his life, and yes, I do believe that. And what he did, I also believe, was not at all motivated by race. Again, before the break, I told you about what he did when Brooks went down. He administered CPR. He was pleading with Brooks, stay alive, please keep breathing. You're going to tell me someone who hated black people would do that? I don't think so. Again, a young guy, 27 years old. And now his life is just circling the drain. Being charged with felony murder, may face the death penalty. Just a sad situation. Very, very sad situation. Now, more corruption from this district attorney, Paul Howard Jr. Let me just say that the entire country should be condemning this man right now. I really believe that. The way he's handling this case is a complete and utter disgrace. You won't hear it on the mainstream media, from the mainstream media. You won't hear it on the nightly news, but you'll hear it from me, because it's the truth. The entire country right now should be condemning this man. Anyway, here's a report from the Daily Wire. Listen to this. This is very, very interesting to me, and it's extremely telling of who this district attorney is. DailyWire.com reports, in explaining the charges against former Atlanta police officer Garrett Rolfe, Howard said, quote, this is in the press conference, "We've concluded at the time Mr. Brooks was shot that he did not pose an immediate threat of death or serious physical injury to the officer or officers." So they're saying that Brooks wasn't a threat. I fully disagree, by the way, but that's just me. Howard continued by noting that Brooks fired a taser, which he took from the officer on scene. Well, at least he acknowledges that. Fired the taser at Rolfe, and that Rolfe opened fire on Brooks after that. But I don't know if you can see it clearly, Howard told the media in announcing the charges on Wednesday while showing a blown-up photograph of the incident. The prongs from the taser were actually fired above Officer Rolfe here. Thank God he's actually acknowledging that. I'm kind of surprised that he is, quite frankly, but Howard went on to say, stay with me, Howard went on to say that after Brooks fired the taser at Rolfe, the distance between the two increased, leading Howard to say, quote, "So based upon that information, we have concluded that Mr. Brooks was running away at the time that he was shot, at the time that the shot was fired. Mr. Brooks was shot twice in the back." So basically, he's making the case that Brooks was running away when he was shot and that Garrett Rolfe was really in no danger. Again, I don't believe it. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Earlier this month, Howard announced charges against several police officers in a case about alleged excessive use of force against 2 college students during the protests that took place after the death of George Floyd. In announcing charges against one of the officers, Howard said that the officer was charged with, quote, aggravated assault for pointing a taser at one of the students because, quote, these are his words, under Georgia law, a taser is considered a deadly weapon. So let's summarize here, shall we? The hypocrisy is absolutely incredible, by the way. About 1 month ago, this district attorney, Paul Howard, came after a cop who used a taser on a couple of college students who were protesting in the wake of George Floyd's death. And he said, under Georgia law, a taser is considered a deadly weapon. Why? Here's my question. Why did he not call it a deadly weapon when it was in the hands of Rayshard Brooks, who was running away from Garrett Rolfe, turned and fired at him? Was it a deadly weapon then? No, apparently not. See how he's tampering with the justice system, folks? See how he's tampering with the facts? Withholding important information? This is an outrage. This is a complete outrage. Everybody in this country right now should be condemning this man for the way he's handling this. From not informing the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, withholding important information about Rayshard Brooks' past, and now this. And now this sheer hypocrisy. It's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. So my question is, what's going on here? What's this guy's angle? What's going on in his mind? What's his agenda? Well, Daniel Horowitz, in a piece for Conservative Review, shed some light on this. This is very interesting stuff. I'm not going to read the whole article. By the way, I'm sorry that this episode tonight is a little article heavy, but I'm trying to get the facts up there. Daniel Horowitz, listen to this. Howard is already under investigation. Did you know this? That this district attorney is under investigation? For 2 sexual harassment lawsuits, as well as a corruption scandal. Gee! He's under investigation for corruption? I would never have guessed! I would never have guessed this! Interesting, huh? The Georgia Bureau of Investigations recently launched an investigation into the allegations that Howard pocketed funds meant for fighting gang violence in order to supplement his salary by $170,000 after his request for a salary increase was initially rebuffed by the city government. So in his mind, he's thinking, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation screwed me, so I'm going to screw them back and not fill them in on what's going on. I guarantee you that's what was going on in his mind. Guarantee you. He's bitter and angry at law enforcement. That's the truth, folks. Sorry if it's tough to hear, but that's absolutely the truth. The evidence is overwhelming here. He is being accused by a former administrator and paralegal in his office of sexual harassment and misconduct, as well as 12 public disclosure violations. And there you go. There you go. So this man, Paul Howard, has a personal vendetta against law enforcement. He absolutely does. That's why he didn't include the Georgia Bureau of Investigations. He kind of left them in the dark. He didn't let them complete their investigation. That's why he's charging this man, Garrett Rolfe, with felony murder. That's why he's doing what he's doing. That's why he's withholding important information that could possibly shed this police officer in a positive light. It all makes sense. He has a personal vendetta against law enforcement. He absolutely does. And that to me is disgusting. That to me is absolutely disgusting. If you're going to abuse your power like this, if you're going to mislead the public, if you're going to lie to the public, when someone's life is in jeopardy, hangs in the balance, this 27-year-old cop who may face the death penalty for God's sakes, and you're playing around like this is some kind of game? You kidding me? Are you serious? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I tell you what, folks. Why would anyone want to be a cop right now? Why would anyone want to be a cop right now? What kind of an impact do you think this is having on the upcoming generations? You think there's going to be nearly as many kids my age and younger who are going to be telling their moms and dads, you know what, when I grow up, I want to be a cop? You think that's going to happen as much as it used to happen in this country? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. And if it does happen, I guarantee you that a lot of these moms and dads out there who are listening to their kids say, Mom, Dad, when I grow up, I want to be a cop, I bet a lot of these parents are going to discourage it. And then the kid's going to say why, and the parents are going to say because X, Y, and Z. Because it's dangerous, because cops are killed for no apparent reason, because in many cases the justice system isn't equally and fairly applied to them. Why would anyone want to be a cop right now? Do these people understand the damage they're doing to this country? The danger they're putting this country in? You know, when I say stand with the police, folks, it's not just because, you know, it's some catchy tagline that sounds good. It's because I fear that if we, and I alluded to this, actually I think I made this very clear a couple of episodes ago. I fear that if we stop supporting the cops as a whole, if we become an anti-police society, no one's going to want to become a cop. Law enforcement's going to be depleted in this country in terms of numbers and resources. And in the end, our country as a whole, our societies, especially these inner cities, are going to be put in danger. They absolutely are. So I feel bad for Garrett Rolfe and his family and his friends and what they're going through right now. Of course, I feel bad for Rayshard Brooks as well, and his family and his friends. But it's a sad situation, folks. It's sad to witness all of this. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to have to wait and see. Folks, next week I will be on vacation. I'm taking a much-needed break and going to Myrtle Beach with my lovely fiance, my family, and her family. So that should be a fun getaway. So there will be no episodes of Veely TV next week, but rest assured I'll be back the following week, every Tuesday and Thursday. If you haven't already, subscribe to me on YouTube, and also give me a follow on TikTok. I really appreciate it. For those of you who have never checked out my TikTok page, it's a completely different feel from this show. This show is very serious. We get in depth. We talk about current events and so on and so forth. On my TikTok, I'm a little bit more goofy. And I really like to troll the left on there and make fun of them. And it's just a little bit more lighthearted. So if you're into that kind of stuff, definitely check me out on TikTok. I'd really appreciate it. Hey, you want to get in touch with me? JasonVeely76 at gmail.com. JasonVeley76 at gmail.com. Shoot me an email if you have questions or comments or whatever. With that, folks, I'll see you in 2 weeks. God bless.